Nier Automata. This is a game that was released last year. It was developed by Platinum Games and published by Square Enix, which explains a lot of what's wrong with this game. This is a game that received critical acclaim, and it wouldn't be the first from this console generation to be an overrated mess. It's not a bad game. It's actually a good game. I enjoyed it, but it is, I bought it. I still own it. I completed it, but it's still a very overrated game. Like, this game was getting like 9s out of 10s across the board and shit. And whenever people talk about this game, it's a bunch of fucking fanboys, these idiots who overrate these Japanese games and shit. And I should make a separate video talking about that. But I'll save that for another time. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of things that's wrong with this game, and I'm gonna go down the list and talk about what the game got wrong, what it did wrong. The first would be the first major aspect is the fact that this didn't need to be an open world game, because the strongest part of the game is actually the prologue, which lasts about a good 45 minutes to an hour. The game's open world is empty. It's very empty. It's bland. Like, the graphics on the graphic side, it's not very good. There's a lot of bland textures. There's a lot of unfinished textures. There's clipping in the environment, like when you interact with things, certain platforms and certain structures in the game. There's clipping and shit. The side missions are not fun. They're very boring. And the way you trigger some of them is just like, it's just strange the way they have it designed in the actual game. And so it's not a very good open world game. As an RPG game, it's also very weak. The leveling system is pretty much useless, because whenever you go back through and you play the game again on subsequent playthroughs, the enemies don't scale with you. They have the same level. They stay at the same level from when you start. From when you first began the game. The enemies stay the same level wise, and so the game doesn't really have a challenge after that, unless you're playing on a harder difficulty, and the difficulties weren't done well either. Like, the hardest difficulty in the game, you die in like one hit. It's pretty much impossible to fucking play. And you can't change the difficulty on a save file, at least that I know of. Once you choose the difficulty, you have to stick with it. And so the game is the game's weak with the open world. It's weak with the side missions, the side content. It's weak graphically. None of the characters in the game are good characters. 2B and 9S and A2, they're very cliche anime stereotypes. Like 2B herself, she has this the character design is just like ridiculous. She's wearing this like dress or whatever the fuck it is. And it has like a skirt design to it at the end, and it's like cut low. It's intentionally cut low on like the side and shit. So like when you jump with the character and shit, you can look up her skirt and shit and look at her panties and shit. This is the kind of fucking juvenile shit that Japanese game developers do. It's very ridiculous. See it like right here, like her fucking panties are like showing and shit. It's like, come on, dude. Come the fuck on, dude. And it's like, female characters in video games have become, they've matured and they've gotten better. You have that You had that Jodie chick from Beyond Two Souls. You had the new Lara Croft, which is far superior to the fucking original version, which was a sexualized version of the character, very cartoonish and unrealistic. Then you have you have Elizabeth from BioShock Infinite. You have Ellie from The Last of Us. So, there's a lot of great female characters out in gaming right now. But, Japanese game developers really, it's like they haven't gotten the memo and shit. And it's like, from 2B, the 2B bitch in this game, and fucking Quiet from Metal Gear Solid 5, these sexualized, characters that serve no purpose other than the, try and sell sex to the fucking idiots who fanboy and freak out over the fuck over these games. It's ridiculous, dude. So the characters aren't good in the game. 9S, for whatever reason, like the story in the game isn't very good. It feels very segmented. It's like it doesn't really flow together, and it doesn't really connect together as a cohesive whole. Like they have the two brother characters, Adam and Eve, in the game, and their conflict and their motivation and shit is very disjointed, and it's not it doesn't really connect well at all to the rest of the game, or what happens in the story. After they die, you have the Yorha organization, which is that falls or whatever. The androids, like they start going haywire and shit, and they start like self-destructing and whatnot. 2B's affected by that, actually, and she dies in the game. She's killed off by A2. And then 9S, he has like a hard-on for 2B the entire game, and so he goes on a tangent and goes fucking pretty much goes turns into a psychopath, and he goes after A2, and then at the end of the game you have like a few, when they finally find each other and they fight each other, you have a choice for 9S to kill A2 or for A2 to kill 9S, and it's just after that the game just ends. It really doesn't have a point. It's just the game tries to say something, themes about existence and all that shit, and the reason for like the purpose of life and all that, but it doesn't do any of those things very well. Another thing is like when 2B dies and you switch to A2, gameplay wise, it's they're like virtually the same fucking character, and I hate that shit in video games where they have multiple playable characters, and then like two of the characters play exactly the same. So really, you're just playing the same character with a different skin. It's just like the character sprite is different. I hate that kind of stupid shit in games, and this game does that. I don't like that shit. It's very lazy, and another thing, the game forces like these multiple endings in the game to try and artificially extend the game's lifespan. But the endings, most of them are joke endings. Like you'll do one specific thing in the game, and then there's like a quick credit roll, and then the game will take you back to the fucking main menu, and I'm just like, that's not how you do multiple endings. If you play Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls or something like that, to where it's an actual narrative driven game, and there's an actual point that to the multiple endings, that's how you do that shit. The multiple endings here just feel like they're thrown in, and it's just one of those things they use to try and sell the game. Oh, the game has like 26 different endings and shit. All that's bullshit. It's a very overrated game. It's not a bad game. I enjoyed the game. I bought some of the DLC, as you can see for yourself. I like the game, but goddamn, it's like you fucking fanboys out there. You'll overrate the fuck out of anything. Like I said, this game was getting 9s out of 10s and shit. And the only great thing about the game, the only truly great thing about it, is the fucking music. It won like best music at the VGAs and shit, and it actually deserves it. I have the soundtrack to this game, and it's fucking amazing. Aside from that Pascal song, fuck that song. But anyway, yeah, that's Nier Automata. It's it was a very overrated game when it came out. It's still an overrated game now. It's a good game. Like I said, I bought it, I enjoyed it, but yeah, it's a very overrated game. And in the smallest of ways, but the important ways, the game is disappointing. And I really don't care if they make a sequel to this or not, because I probably won't be buying it. So there you have it. There's my retrospective for Nier Automata.